Good morning.
Good morning. The meeting now come to order. First of all, we're going to start off with the introductions of people that's in attendance here.
Bonnie Ashley, City Attorney's Office and General Counsel to GRT.
Cheryl Adams, Bingham CEO.
Lincoln Saunders representing the city of Richmond.
Todd Garrett representing Wright County.
Dan Schmidt with Rockland County.
Barb Smith, Chesterfield County.
Dave Anderson representing Chesterfield.
Jim Engel representing Chesterfield.
Tamara Nelson representing Henrico.
Eldridge Groves temporary board meeting.
State Street Director Planning and Schedule here. Ashley Meeks and Andrew Corporation.
Brandon Butler.
Tanya Thompson, Director of Procurement.
Director Shepherd.
Mike Zero Communications and Marketing Director.
Director of Maintenance.
Dexter Burke, Director of IT. John Lawless, IT.
Good morning, Francis, Executive Director.
Good morning, Darwin, North Clark City, Richmond.
Ms. Later, Financial Disclosure.
Ken Lance, ODA. Morning, I'll be Scott, President, ACU.
Tim Long, Chief Director of Operations. Mark Eastfield.
Anthony Clutter, Director of
Monica Carter, Safety and Service Compliance Manager.
Adrian Torres, Chief Development Officer.
Jonathan Paul, Chief Financial Administrative Officer. Joe Builder, Director of the Organization of Legislative Policy.
James Wood, Executive Assistant.
right, we'll do the shareholders meeting minutes, Cheryl.
The shareholders met on October 19th, and the nominations were submitted and approved. Do you need me to list them?
Okay. Then we're going to do the appointments to the board. Also it's been a long time. We're going to do the nominations for the officers of the board. First, we're going to do the chair, which will be Mr. Nelson, Mr. Tyrone Nelson. Reverend Tyrone Nelson will be the chair of the board. Mr. Addison will be vice chair, and Ms. Barbara Smith will be secretary treasurer of the board. Is there any other nominations?
We don't have a majority.
Oh, we don't have a quorum?
No, we didn't.
We don't have a quorum.
Correct. We only have one Richmond director here. We need to have at least two.
Got any insight on
Councilman Addison, I know has a conflict with work that is going to make him, late. I'm checking with Ms. Roberts. I believe he said his orientation was at 8 o'clock start time. It's been a challenge for him. So, but if I could, on behalf of the city, ask, could we move to reports and public comment, et cetera, and save any actions for when we have forum?
Okay. Is there anyone here for public comments? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. The public notice, meeting agenda, and agenda items for this October 25th, 2022 standing meeting of the boards of GRTC, RideFinders, and Old Dominion Transit Management Company were posted on October 20th at ridegrtc.com. Per the meeting notice, all written comments received by email by me, Mike Frontiero, prior to 5 p.m. on the day preceding the meeting were provided to all members of the board the night before the meeting, are read during the public comment period of the meeting by staff following the 2-minute speaking limit, and will be included in the minutes of the meeting. Also, per the meeting notice, this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. This meeting, I received the following comments, all in support of a north-south bus rapid transit line. Now we're done. Sarah Kirchner. I support the north-south GRTC line because it will improve the job options for our low-income residents. In order to take care of yourself and your family, the job is important. Without reliable transportation, finding a job that pays enough to do so is almost impossible. Ilya Yevlakina. I live in the DC area, though I am no longer a resident of Richmond. I work for a company based in the Richmond area. I would like to support the plan to open a BRT line along Midlothian Turnpike. My company's office is located in the Boulders Office Park along with several other offices. When I visit the office, I take the number 1A bus from downtown and the bus is always full. I believe a BRT line along that route would attract even more riders, just like the success of the Pulse bus. In the same area along Midlothian Turnpike are the Kroger and the new Brandmark supermarkets and numerous restaurants and businesses. There are no supermarkets in Richmond South Side, so running a frequent and quick bus service along Midlothian Turnpike would make Southside residents live lives much easier. It would also provide access to jobs. With car prices at an all-time high, giving Richmonders the option to take convenient public transit instead of paying another monthly car payment would improve their economic well-being, make them healthier, decrease traffic, and reduce climate change causing emissions. With the nationwide press that the false receipt, another BRT line would bring more attention and prestige to the Richmond metro area. Even young, I am a resident of the state in Richmond. I am here today to support the North-South BRT. Last year, when I got a new job on May, Will Street, I was relieved knowing it was within walking distance from Staples Mill Station. In addition, the fact that I could go back and forth from my neighborhood to work was beneficial for other residents who regularly ride as well as me. I support the North-South BRT because it would increase access to jobs like the East-West BRT has done. George Sinkler. I am a resident of Richmond. I am in support of the North-South BRT line because it will give me and many more like me more opportunity to go places that I could not go because of lack of transit service. The necessity of life travel for health issues, personal services, and expenses for personal reasons and businesses will be greater beneficiaries for transit riders of everyday users. Our lifestyle will improve greatly. Shea Braxton. I am a resident of Southside Richmond. I also am a transit advocate with RVA Rapid Transit. I am here to support the proposed construction of Richmond Highway BRT and on behalf of fellow Richmond citizens who take the bus every day. Before moving to Richmond in 2002, I frequented the Metropolitan Transit Authority in New York City. I used a similar rapid transit system to travel back and forth to a school that would have been out of my reach if I did not have adequate transportation. As a result of attending school, I was hired for better paying internships and had the freedom to travel back and forth at an affordable rate. The money I earned from that job was used to pay for books, buy clothes for my siblings, and help my mom with bills. I'm excited about the Richmond BRT coming to this region to provide other young people with the same opportunities. The time to build the Richmond BRT is now. Brenda Phipps. I have been a resident of the Churchill area for over 20 years. I am writing in support of the North-South BRT. Currently, I work at a preschool in the south side of Richmond as a teacher's assistant. A student in my class is late to school every day. Unfortunately, my student's mother has to take 3 buses to take 2 children to 2 schools in opposite directions. I believe a North-South BRT will reduce travel time for some parents with children at my school. That concludes the written comments. We'll now accept public comments.
Hello, GRTC board. My name is Richard Hankin, and I am a resident of the West River Hills neighborhood in Southside Richmond and a transit advocate with RVA Rapid Transit. I'm here today to speak about the North-South BRT. I'm in full support of the North-South BRT with frequent service, dedicated lanes, and shelter station. I've always believed that transit is a pillar of an economically resilient and flourishing region, as each dollar spent on transit brings $5 in economic benefits. Also, 48% of carbon emissions in Virginia comes from transportation. As riding the bus reduces emissions compared to driving your own vehicle, it not only mitigates the impact of climate change, but also decreased gasoline consumption reduces our dependence on foreign oil supplied by dangerous and often corrupt petrostates. There's also an equity component. 90% of those on public assistance do not own a car. Many elderly folks and those with disabilities also cannot drive. For these people, a second BRT can double their accessible world. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Faith Walker. I am a resident of Henrico County and Executive Director for RVA Rapid Transit. RVA Rapid Transit is a nonprofit dedicated to advocating and educating for frequent and far-reaching public transportation in the Richmond region. I first want to congratulate and welcome all new GRTC board members. I am so grateful to see 2 females appointed to the board. Females represent over half of the ridership in this region. It's wonderful to see this board shift to represent and reflect who is using public transportation. On behalf of RV Rapid Transit, I also want to express our strong support for GRTs to explore a north-south BRT. Over the last 2 years, I have been engaging bus riders who desperately want and need access to jobs in South Richmond. Putting a BRT line through any of these corridors would increase access to jobs. For example, on Hall Street, currently 4,200 jobs within a half mile of its route. On Midlothian Boulevard, currently 6,400 jobs within a half mile of its route. And on Route 1, currently 5,900 jobs within a half mile of its route. The number of jobs accessible within an hour-long commute will rise considerably with the combination of an east-west pulse and a north-south BRT. Thank you so much for working collaboratively to move this project without delay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Amy Guzmaitis, representing the partnership with Smarter Growth. Before you today is an important step forward for equity in our transportation system. The addition of a north-south bus rapid transit line to GRTC's routes would have a huge and immediate impact for people that currently use the system, as well as encouraging new riders to use it. It would improve access to jobs and opportunity, providing dedicated lane follow up for fast, frequent, and reliable service. The partnership with Smarter Growth, along with the community, have repeatedly advocated for a strong regional transit system. And one of the key connections is the north-south corridor. It would connect city residents to suburban jobs and suburban residents to city jobs, and would serve a number of areas with lower income residents who need better. Combined with updated parking policies and parking pricing in the city, it would provide an alternative for drivers and help to reduce average vehicle miles traveled and lower greenhouse gas emissions for the region. The best way forward for the region to grow is to walkable, transit-oriented communities, either frequent and reliable service. We urge you to improve the north-south BRT corridor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hello, my name is Jonathan Rigby. I'm a resident of Chesterfield County, and a frequent bus rider, and representing Virginia Interfaith Power Light, a faith-based nonprofit that works with environmental justice, which includes transit justice. So I am in support of expanding the BRT north-south line. Having more individuals using public transit means fewer carbon emissions, 48% of which is the Commonwealth from the transportation sector, and in Richmond primarily impact those in brown and Black communities. As a transit rider, I have experienced the dignity that comes with waiting at a shelter-covered bus stop, knowing that I can get the BRT East-West BRT line in 15 minutes has increased my usage of that bus line, and also I'd like to share a brief story of my last experience riding the 77 bus line. So I arrived on the road and Belmont about 15 minutes before the bus was scheduled to arrive. There's no shelter or bench at that stop, so I thought I would walk in the direction that I was going to be going to get a bench to sit on for that time. And of the 5 stops I passed before I reached 195, not a single one had a bench, not a single one had a shelter. So I ended up standing at the corner I just ended up standing at the corner in the sun, waiting for the bus there. There really is a dignity difference when you're waiting at a bus stop with a shelter. So I really do encourage you all, and thank you all for considering this north-south BRT line. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mo Shaw. I'm the president of HB Local 1220, which represents the work of the GRTC. I would like to welcome the new board of directors to GRTC. Ever since September, the union and company have been working together to bring GRTC atmosphere back to where it was when I first started. family. And looking for a new CEO, I would like y'all to take it. Bring somebody in that will keep a family atmosphere and make people safe. For over 30 some years. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right, Ms. Robinson, would you like to introduce yourself? Or we've done any introductions before?
I apologize, Mr. Chair, for running behind. I'm Ellen Robertson. I serve as the 6th District Council Representative in the city of Richmond and as the Vice Chair, and I'm honored to have this opportunity to serve on this board. And Mr. Coles, appreciate the leadership that you provided on behalf of the city of Richmond.
Thank you. All right. Now we'll move to nominations. All right. Nominate Mr. Tyrone Davis, Mr. Tyrone Nelson as chair of the board, Mr. Andre Addison as vice chair, and Ms. Barbara Smith as secretary treasurer. Do I hear any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
And at this time, I will remove myself and ask the new chair to take it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for entrusting me with this opportunity to serve as chair. So I'm looking forward to us doing some great work together and keeping this great organization moving forward. Mr. Addison, come on.
Congrats on your election.
You can switch it.
We did, everybody went around the table and just said who they were and what area, so.
I think we all know who I am, but Andres Addison, First District City Council, Richmond, Virginia. Glad to be here.
And new vice chair.
And new vice chair. Thank you for supporting me in my absence.
Did you guys, new board members, did you get the minutes already? Okay, all right. It's time for us to approve the September 20th. Well, you guys want to approve it anyway because you weren't here. So for those of you who were here, can you get a motion to approve the September 20th, 2022 board meeting minutes?
Second.
All right, been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, consent agenda. The list was on page 9 in the packet. Individually listed out 10, 11, 12, 13 through 17. BRT station communication switches, network equipment, vehicle lifts, architectural engineering services, north-south BRT study, and transit ridership. That's our consent agenda. Anybody have any questions about those items? If so, you can call up appropriate staff to answer your question.
Just one quick question, Mr. Chair. For John, the 3.5, I didn't see John. Good to see you. Good morning, sir.
John, come on up.
The 3.5 million for the list for the ARPA fund, sir. Just curious if that was a budget number, where we've seen that number come from before, where it's being pulled from.
The ARPA number, the ARPA award for GRTC is a total of $29 million. During the last fiscal year, Julie Tim had brought suggestions or recommendations to the board as to, for lack of better terms, to earmark or encumber certain funds in certain areas. So there were certain funds that were encumbered or were suggested to the tune of around $6 million that were not utilized in fiscal 22. So therefore, the $3.5 million has been slid in to take up the position of those prior benchmarks.
Yes, so existing money that was put aside that wasn't used. Correct. Awesome. Thank you, sir.
I've got a quick question, just general new board question. When we have purchases like this, is there an assumption that several vendors are usually looked at during the negotiation process that's already been vetted when it comes to us?
Yes, GRTC follows public procurement, so we do reciprocal bids, request proposals, and we do a review depending on the methodology. How we go through it, the best value or most qualified bid.
Great.
All right, any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
regarding the purchase for the lift, if I read it correctly, they are all needing to be replaced at the same time.
Tony, come on up, buddy.
Stagger that at any time, or is that the best way for us to, I'm not that familiar with the mechanics, so.
Good morning. All the lifts were installed at the same time, so they have a 10-year life expectancy. They appreciate useful life.
It is possible to stagger them, and originally we were going to go that route, but because we have the money and because it is a safety concern, we're gonna move forward with doing them all at once. And of course, the installation will be staggered because we can't have them all down at one time, so maybe in groups of 3 or more.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, can we get a motion to accept the recommendations as a part of the consent agenda?
Second.
All right, move to second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, information items, Tanya Thompson is going to come with the updated list of recent and updated upcoming procurement. And Ms. Thompson, if you don't mind, can you just, talk about how we came to you presenting this to the board, the way you present it?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, welcome. My name is Tanya Thompson. I'm the Director of Procurement, and every month I will provide you with a report of procurements that staff has identified. There's a certain need in whatever department, whoever's spearheading it. And what we will try to do is give you all a 3 to 6 month look ahead so that you are aware of what will, eventually come to the board for a recommendation for purchase of goods or services. Let's see what else. Also, this is beneficial to the vendor community. That's primarily the purpose of this, just to alert them as to what GRTC needs to buy. And we oftentimes get a lot of phone calls and interest after our board meetings because of this report. Are there any other questions? Thank you. Okay. So what I'll do monthly is I won't go through all of the projects that are on this report. I will just update you with the new projects that have been added. And currently, planning has added 2 new projects that they will be procuring consultants for this fall. The first project is phase 2 of the micro transit study. The scope of services will include additional planning, engagement, education and marketing, driver training, procurement and operations, and partner engagement. And lastly, the regional transportation plan. Staff is seeking a consultant to assist GRTC with preparing the FY 2024 Regional Public Transportation Plan. CBTA legislation requires GRTC to prepare an annual update that describes how GRTC plans to spend CBTA funds each fiscal year. This plan will be completed in coordination with the TPO and approved by the GRTC board and CBTA. The budget for both of these projects is $200,000 each, and the funds are currently ready and available for the acquisition of those services. This concludes my update. Are there any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Tisdale, Richmond Chapter Public Relations Society of America Award. And if you don't mind, just tell the group who you are, but every staff person that gets up, if you can just give us a couple second synopsis of who you are and what you do, I think that'll be helpful to our new board members.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Few words could not describe who I am. But I am the executive director of RideFinders. This is my second iteration doing that job. I've been doing this one again since 2008. Prior to that, I served as executive director at RideFinders, and then I came up to GRTC and worked with the specialized transportation department. that good enough?
Yes.
I stand before you to proudly and publicly share that RideFinders has received 2 additional awards. You will find the supporting documentation I'm referencing on page 20 of your board packet. So the comments I make now are merely supplementary. Julia Child, renowned and highly acclaimed chef, quoted that the measure of achievement is not winning awards. It is doing something that you appreciate, something that you believe is worthwhile. Well, let me say that while I wholeheartedly agree with the last 2/3 of that quote, I question the first part, because we do love awards and we do love what they represent, the accomplishments. But on the serious side, being the recipient of the Richmond Chapter Public Relations Society of America Commonwealth Awards of Merit in the public service category for the Way We Go Youth Sustainability Outreach. And in the shoestring budget for campaigns costing less than $5,000, it's a green game, is illustrative of the universal appeal and not acknowledgement of the qualitative components and quantitative metrics included that continue to be essential to the success of RideFinders' educational, outreach, and engagement strategies. These 2 campaigns for this citation have received a total of 5 previous awards from peers in the mobility and ride-sharing industry, as well as from other external notable entities. And what I'd like to say is all of the work was done by RideFinders in-house staff. All the graphics, all the planning, all the strategies, all the advertising, the write-up, everything was done by the innovative and dedicated team that serves this. Unless there are any questions.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome work, thank you. Downtown transfer station update. Mr. Shepherd.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is McGregor Shepherd. I'm the project manager of the downtown transfer station construction. This information item can be found on pages 21 and 22 in your board package. I'll start with a brief background on this project. On September 12th, GRTC took over the site of 8th and Clay to begin constructing the downtown transfer station. There are site improvements included with this construction, 12 sawtooth bus bays, shelters, benches, and trash cans, an operator restroom, lighting improvements, and supervisor parking. The estimated completion for this project is 10 months, and I will continue to make progress updates throughout the duration of this project. Jumping down to the key activities, the site demolition has been completed, currently in utilities work. Upcoming activities include pavement and island installations, which are planned for the winter, site furnishing installations and operator training scheduled for the plan for the spring, and an estimated completion by summer, next summer. With this site improvement and construction, we do have some planned service adjustments starting in January. The 1, A, B, and C will be broken down in the downtown transfer area. Route 1 will run from Chamberlain and Wilmer to downtown with 15-minute service. Routes 1A, B, and C will run from downtown to their current southern end of line. Frequencies will remain the same, and the combined frequency between downtown and Southside Plaza will remain at 15 minutes. Projected planned service adjustments for April include the routes that currently serve the transfer plaza on nights and weekends will change to serve the downtown transfer station all day, every day. Route 50 and 78 will be extended to serve the downtown transfer station and be reduced to 60-minute frequency. Route 56 and 87 will be extended to serve the new transfer station. A Title VI analysis is being performed on the proposed changes to determine the potential for disproportionate impacts to minority and low-income communities. If there are no questions, this concludes my update.
Just clarification of the term all day, every day. I'm assuming that means 24/7.
Correct. Well,
No.
incorrect.
Essentially, Director, my name is Gregory. It just means that when the buses are in service that can serve the downtown area, they will be serving the downtown transfer station instead of ancillary transfer locations like they do during the weekdays
There are no additional questions. That concludes the presentation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Staff reports. Safety report, Mr. Carter.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board, and welcome to the new members of the board. My name is Anthony Carter. Everybody calls me Tony. I'm the safety director, director of risk management, and in my department is safety training, risk management, and customer service. I go the safety performance report that's found on pages 23 through 27 of the board packet. And just to give you some overall points of notice. First thing, we did see an increase in external events. Basically, that's can be attributed to preventable accidents for this month. What we do is we try to find out and break down the actual attributes to the increase of them. We found that they were fixed object type accidents. And also we noticed that it was increase of situations where turns were making a little short and causing us to tap above other objects. Throughout this month, we had what we call safety meetings. And what we did is set up safety meetings, and that's an opportunity for the operators to come in. We review certain things and go over certain aspects of how they can increase their safety while they're out on the street. Our training manager does a great job of going over certain techniques and certain aspects of what we're finding to help increase our actual safety. Moving on to specialized, we did have 2 traffic events with them. They were preventable, and as well, they were involved in safety meetings. And I've been assured by the new management from safety on the specialized side that they're coming up with ways to go over and prevent those type of accidents from taking place as well. Verbal assaults, we did have 1, which is a decrease, and we're happy about that. We had no physical encounters with the operators and passengers. We've also been looking at the corridor on the pulse stations, BRT, the DMV area in that situation. We have increase in accidents, and we're just monitoring how those accidents are taking place. For this month, we did see a decrease in those type of accidents, so we didn't have any, but we continue to monitor those and see what we can do to keep that area as safe as possible. And if there are no questions, that concludes the safety performance report for the month of September.
Question. So what external events are, what are external? So that's pretty much anything, accident, bump, hit.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what else is, and what else would you call an external event?
So an external event is just what it is, an accident. We have traffic accidents, then we also have what we call passenger accidents. Passenger accidents are more or less on the bus taking place. Like if a passenger gets on the bus and falls down, that's a passenger event. External event, like I said, is traffic and passenger. And that's just the way we classify it according to FDA guidelines.
And so you also use the word specialized events. What would be considered?
Specialized transportation, not care.
Okay.
Divisions.
Okay.
And the non-preventable accidents seem to be on the rise. Is that, do y'all get feedback that was somebody texting, all that kind of stuff that goes on these days?
Well, non-preventable, exactly. We have situations where like passengers can get on the bus and not properly secure themselves as the bus fall out. They see things of that nature, things that the operator has no control over. What we try to do is monitor those as well, put out public service announcements, monitor the inside of the bus, making sure that operators doing everything to alert the passengers, to let them know what they can do to protect themselves from these.
I was actually referring to the non-preventable, the ones that aren't our fault. Just curious as to whether you get reports on what's causing that rise that seems to be so much higher than last year.
Well, what we saw that in this month was a breakdown of passengers loading on the bus. Situations where passengers are missing their steps, things like that, tripping when they're boarding the bus. And like I said, what we try to do is.
He's talking about traffic accidents, traffic, not the passenger.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of the same thing, you know, these are accidents are just that the operator can't control. So, and what we try to do is, like I said, the public service announcements. We noticed that a lot of those are on the BRT, not paying attention to operators of other vehicles, not paying attention to traffic signs, things of that nature.
Tony, speaking in that nature of the BRT, do you have any either measurables or insight into the impact of the red lanes that have been painted in the BRT route?
That's a question that came up when we had safety meetings this time. We asked that to the operators and what type of feedback they're getting. Overall, they like the red lines, red lanes. It brings attention to it, brings notability to the actual BRT. So far as the accidents, numbers and everything, we did see that it did decrease it a little bit. We saw that the operators, like I said, overall give good feedback and glad that the lanes are painted.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, sir. Service support operator staffing, Mr. Bryan. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board and new members. My name is Tim Baum. I'm the Chief of Transit Operations for GRTC. I have the direct oversight of the service delivery, which includes the fixed route local service, paratransit service, commuter, as well as the specialized road care service. So I guess in a way the buck stops with me, good, bad, or everything in between. But we do have a staff that I work with, my assistant and other members, supervision and so forth, that work in conjunction with our new provider on the specialized side as well, National Express, to make sure we do provide the service delivery for GRTC. But going back to the report, which my section starts on page 28 of the board packet, you'll see some of the current stats there, and at Mr. Smith's request, we started to include some of the staffing level information as well. We're currently, as of September 30th, 228 full-time and 28 part-time operators. Picked up a little bit this month. We did have a few operators to graduate, so as of today, we're at 230 full-time and 27 part-time operators. Based on our current booking, we need 264 operators, so we're currently about 20 operators short to get to that goal. We do have 19 trainees currently going through different phases of training. We have a class of 8 that will be graduating in the next week or so. Some will be coming out this week, some will be coming out next week. We've had a total of 9 classes so far this year. We were on pace to have about a class every month, but we didn't have one in September. We did have one that started a few weeks ago. Our plan is to have at least one more class this year as we get into the holiday period. And trends have shown that it's tough to hire during this time of year because people have a tendency to stay where they are as they get into the holiday season. But we do have a few people that have expressed interest in coming here to start as bus operators. So we do have a plan to at least have one more class this year. Going to the paratransit side real quick, October 6th of this past month was when National Express Transit started service with us. They currently are about 30 operators short. So they do have a bigger challenge when it comes to meeting their staff level. I talk with the staff there on a daily basis to make sure that we're doing everything we need to do operationally to take care of those customers as well. We've started to have communication with some of our clients, and as time moves on, we're going to go out into the service area and meet with some of the other specific locations that service quite a few of our folks on a regular basis, like from the dialysis centers, adult daycare facilities, and so forth. Just to build that relationship with them and to also regain their confidence in what we plan on doing to address the service issues and so forth. The goal is for the paratransit service to be staffed by the end of the year. Currently, they have subcontracted user to assist with that current service that we're doing to overcome the operator shortage. Right now, about 30 trips a day that they're performing to help with that. So as they increase their operators, we'll have less use of user as well. They're also in negotiations with ATU as far as the salaries go to make sure that the salaries for the paratransit division are on par with the other places around the area that do that type of service. Unless there are any other questions that includes that report. Yes.
What is the full complement of operators for the paratransit?
About 290. Oh, yeah, about 290.
No, 90, I'm sorry, 90. 90 full-time, yes.
So they're about 60 then.
Yes.
Any other-
Thinking
yes.
about fixed route, which ultimately we want to get up to that number. As you see on the projections of where we were a couple of years ago, we were around that 290 mark on the fixed route side, so we'll get back up there. But yeah, fair transit roughly about 90.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. One, thank you. Page 29 is exactly what helps with a visual of tracking. So thank you for the chart support. And that's why we're here. If these things are new today, I don't remember them before. Thank you. This is spectacular. So much better than 800 times better than paper. So thank you. My question, Mr. Chairman, is on the tracking of full-time equivalents. For the past 3 years, looks like our average 2020, 2021, 2022 was 260 to 285, 270 to 290. I'm just curious, you mentioned based on current booking, 264 is the target.
264.
We were in the 270 to 290 range. Is that just because routes have decreased since 2020, 2021?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Is that just because routes have decreased since 2020, 21?
Yes, we did have.
Target being 25 bucks.
Yes, we did have a service reduction back in last December to try to offset the operating shortage that we currently experiencing during that period. So as we incrementally increase operators, we'll adjust for each booking and increase accordingly.
So right now, for full complement of coverage, 264 is the happy number.
Yes.
If we were to return to where routing was, it would be 285, 290.
Roughly.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
I got a question, just trying to figure out how to ask it. So 264 is pared down service pared down service after COVID.
Yes.
280 something is where we would need to be at pre-COVID, and over 300 with route expansion probably.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. In fact, what my department does is we do projections based on various iterations of what we expect, where we are now, where we want to get incrementally, and optimal growth as well as that 300 number. We go over that with Sam Group, Asian, to make sure that we stay on point and what we need to do to get to that level. But you're absolutely correct.
Okay, so when people respond, okay, so you got 8 people in the class right now.
Actually, a total of 19. We got 8 that are in the process of finishing and graduating.
So the 8 that are about to graduate, do you ask how they, how do they come? Is it the TV advertisements, radio advertisement, word of mouth, friend, family?
Yes, we get that information when they come on board, and when we meet with them, myself, Cheryl, different groups meet with them that last week of class. So I think I'm scheduled to meet with them tomorrow.
So what's the most effective?
Ads. Most of them say it's a TV ad, and some of it is word of mouth, but the majority are coming because of the ads.
Okay, and I'm embarrassed to ask this question, being that I've been on the board for 5 months, I think. What do we pay to start?
Just 17.43.
Okay, $17.43. And Richmond Public Schools pays what?
We're 23 and then some, because it's tiered, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, based on the experience as well.
And I'm certain that we pay more than 17 in Henrico, and I know you guys pay more than 17. So that's probably a problem right there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, along the same lines, we had this discussion a month, I guess ago, a meeting or 2 ago, and we've talked about route expansion, we're talking about BRT north-south expansion, and we identified, to your point, that the highest we've been 2021 is 290, 285 in 2020, and if we're going to talk about expansion, retention and hiring,
55 to 60 drivers short. to be
Retention.
able to even talk about
retention, hiring, and pay first.
We gotta find ways to
It's
be more
first.
aggressive. So I think that's just, we need to figure that out.
Exactly right.
Yeah, sooner than later, so.
Yeah, and
World-class
what we-
leader.
I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off there, but, I track this on a daily basis, and we talk with our HR department, we do exit interviews, we do the, this month, for example, we only lost so far, and every time I say this, but so far this month, we've had 1 part-time
and operator, and one full-time operator to leave the company. And one was a resignation voluntary leave. So we're looking closely at that. Why are people leaving? Because we're getting people in the door. We changed our hiring criteria about a year ago. So we are getting people in the door, but how do we keep them? Like, for example, with our new employees in particular, we noticed that what I mean by new employees, people that have been here for less than a year. Their turnover rate is double that of operators who've been there longer. So why are folks leaving? Is it a quality of life issue? Is it the pay issue? Or a combination of thereof? We've also had conversations with our union representatives to try to work through those issues as well as we put committees together to look at run structure, pay, and things of that nature to try to address some of those issues. Because I think, speaking out of turn, but I think our biggest issue is retention. How can we keep good quality people? But are you tracking it when they leave? Are you doing exit interviews?
Yes.
Okay, so please, can you put that information together? It's like the last year. I mean, I think all of us would be interested to know why people come and why people leave. I mean, as we begin to look at next year's budget, I think those questions and answers will help us rectify some stuff.
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, pretty soon we're gonna see a report on ridership, and those numbers are, the purple bar on the ridership chart is very high. The bus transfer station going downtown is a serviceable plus. The new lanes painted as an operator plus and a driver, the shelter plan that is walking. These are great, terrific service improvements with the shelters and the benches. Operators, operators, key to the foundation to moving this organization to the next step.
We do have some incentive pay right now, right?
Yes.
$2 during the week and $3 on the weekend on top of the 17. So it's not, and that's temporary. It's not permanent, but it's not quite as much of a gap right now as it sounds, but there is still a gap.
And Mr. Chairman, we also have the hiring incentive bonus, which is $5,000. So the way that works is they get an additional amount bi-weekly, and then there are 3 $1,000 bonuses that they also receive. So that's for the new hires.
Is that with a longevity requirement that they have to stay operators for 2 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good combo. Thank you. All right. Vehicle facility report and maintenance staff.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The maintenance report can be found on page 30 of your board packet. My name is Tony Bird. I'm the director of maintenance for 2.5 years now. Been with the company for 34 years. I'm in charge of maintenance, body shop, fueling, and cleaning and facilities. In addition to what's on the board packet, we are fully staffed for general utilities right now. We're missing 1 body shop technician and 3 mechanics.
So full complement. So you short 3 mechanics, so you have how many?
32.
32, okay. And body shop?
Fully staffed, except for 1. We lost 1 last week.
So how many, what's the estimate?
It's about 8.
8, okay.
We do have interviews for this week and next week for all those positions already.
So I feel like you're getting better. Yeah. You were yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, any questions? Thank you, sir. All right. Ridership and quarterly report. This is pages 31 through 48.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We'll start with page 32, the chart there on our monthly ridership report. Overall, the local fixed route, Pulse, and Express are fairly static month to month. I think that can be partially attributed to the fact that there is one last weekday in September from August, and we also had a holiday in September. Things that kept down ridership a little bit. But looking overall at the bigger picture and how we're trending versus pre-pandemic, That kind of last column, looking at September 2019, is that year over year. We're still up roughly 15% on the local fixed route. We're down about 26% on BRT. That's been pretty steady over the past few months in terms of that delta. And then on the express routes as well, we were gaining pretty significantly over the summer. That seemed pretty static this month, but we'll be monitoring that closely this fall to look at how express route ridership is faring. That concludes the monthly ridership report, unless there are any questions from the board.
Is there any simple answer to the question of why express ridership is down so much that you've ascertained so far?
Yeah, so we saw it go down a lot during the depths of the pandemic. We also cut express routes significantly, kind of in response to that ridership decline. We did see it pick back up, but I think there's just not as much service out there on the street today. We are looking at selectively realigning some trips, or perhaps even adding back in a trip or two for January or April, so if that's something that we can accommodate. Obviously, we've got to be careful with the number of operating positions we have, but there are certain trips on certain routes that do have very high maximum loads on them. Given that express service is a long haul closed door service, we don't want anyone standing on those trips. We're going down Parkway or something. So that's something we're looking at.
Are we getting, for express routes, are we getting calls? Are people, is there desire? Like, if clearly the number is low because we're not running it as much. And I don't know, Todd, are we getting, do people want the express route back?
We got a few calls, I think as school picked back up, I'll defer to Sam, how many they've been getting. We haven't really had complaints lately.
What about you, Sam? Are you getting complaints?
We get maybe one or two a month asking for some additional service or bringing back one of the routes that was cut. But it's not a lot of complaints, but it is something that I ask customer service to report every month for monitoring that and making sure it doesn't get out of hand.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to the quarterly report. This is on page 34 of your packet. All right, if we move down into the PowerPoint here, we'll start with the BRT. It's kind of the first chart you come to. There we go. So just a reminder, we only have one BRT route currently. These are categorized by routes that travel on a major corridor or thoroughfare and operate at very high frequencies with higher capacity. The terminus stops can be major activity centers and route intersections. You'll notice that the trends in terms of productivity are trending positive. We see an increase in passengers per trip year over year within the quarter, and a decrease in the cost per passenger. That's what we want to see with BRT. So although we are still down from our pre-pandemic levels, we are trending in the right direction. The next group of routes we're going to are arterials. Routes in this category travel at least 50% of the route on major corridors or thoroughfares. The terminus stops tend to be major activity centers. Think of the ones, the twos, the threes. We go down to the chart here. You'll see kind of our star performers, as usual, are the ones. We see most of these have cost per passengers that are trending down and ridership that is stable or trending upwards. That's what we want to see. I'll draw attention. So with each of these chart slides, you'll notice that there's some yellow or red highlighting. And what that means is it's just kind of comparing the routes within the group to one another. If something is highlighted as yellow, that means it's something we kind of want to watch. It's starting to deviate a bit from its kind of fellow routes in the category. And red is kind of a little higher alert category where it's underperforming more relative to the other routes in the category. So it doesn't mean anything in absolute numbers. It's just kind of a way to comparatively look at the routes and help draw our attention to potential problems. So with that 3B, I believe it is, you'll notice that one is highlighted in red for its cost per passenger. The loads are up. This really reflects the fact that the Route 111 pilot that was incorporated into the 3B last year. So we're still kind of seeing the effects of that incorporation when we look at the quarter-over-quarter ridership and productivity numbers. So that's not necessarily a concern. There was a bunch of service incorporated into it, a bunch of ridership incorporated into it. I think in the next couple of quarters, we'll start to see that even out as that has the full year of implementation to look at. Also drawing your attention to Route 5. That had been reduced to 30-minute headways in December. So I think we're kind of seeing the impacts of that with the passenger per trip not being quite where we'd like to see it. However, I will also say the ridership, that's down, so that's kind of where that's coming from, but at least the passengers per trip is moving upward. 14, that's our last kind of highlighted route here. The passengers per trip is low, but with ridership trending in the right direction, we're not overly concerned about that at this point. You'll see ridership quarter per quarter is up 26% on that. Moving on to the radial routes, routes in this category, kind of our neighborhood connectors. They travel through neighborhoods for the majority of their service and connect those neighborhoods to the main corridors and key transfer points. So with this one, we'll see 4A and 4B, we had some frequency reductions that improve productivity. So you'll see kind of increases in, the 12, that one has ridership that's up year over year. The productivity that is also up where we want it to be in passengers per trip. You see cost per passenger down, also what we wanted. So that's kind of a positive story in this one. You also notice generally some of these have lower passengers per trip. That may justify on-demand service. That's something that we're going to be looking at as we update our fleet management plan, and also kind of keeping our eye on things like this as we look at microtransit implementation and where that might go in the future. Okay, now we'll go on to the circulators and feeders. Routes in this category connect outlying sections of the service area to each other. They have a stop at an activity center at one of those ends, and it allows, this stop additionally allows for connection to an arterial or a core arterial route. So now we'll talk about the 4A and 4B. These have frequency reductions that improve productivity. You see 4A especially, that passenger per trip number. I mean, obviously it's a low number, so it's easy for it to be up over 100%, but it's still good to see that positive trend there, and then the negative trend in the cost per passenger for both those routes. We also, I want to draw your attention to the 88. We have some frequency reductions in May that looks like may have improved our productivity on that. You'll see the passenger per trip is up and the cost per passenger is down. And overall, the ridership was fairly stable, down just 3% there. And our last category, the express routes. These certain origin points such as the parking ride, you travel downtown, fewer no stops in between, and are generally only offered on weekdays during peak hours. So some trends here. I want to note that the Route 29 kind of comparison numbers are going to be a little off. We did consolidate several Henrico routes, and we also just cut some service on the expresses back in, I believe it was September of 21, eliminated the 26, 27, and 28. So the Route 29 numbers, it is just comparing to the old Route 29. It does not have those other old routes wrapped into it. So the comparisons are a little difficult to discern much from. We're looking at the 95. That's generally always the highest cost per passenger in this category. We do see things trending in the right direction. We're trying to streamline its its circulation downtown to make it a little simpler to understand. We're hoping to make that change probably in April, and we hope that that'll have a positive impact on ridership with that. And lastly, we'll speak to OTP. Tim has already touched on on-time performance, and my numbers will be a little different than his because I'm looking at these as a quarterly review, and his was monthly. Our first quarter system performance was at 67.5%. Our goal is 80%. So we're a little off. Here we have the OTP broken down by weekday versus weekend. Operations has been concentrating on trying to eliminate those early because that's something we can control. Late, you're generally late because of traffic or something, but early you should be able to control. So if we can eliminate those earlies, we'll be much closer to that 80% mark that we're looking for. And unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have no questions, but Sam, I just want to say thank you. The data, the year over year, on the quarter, the Q1s, the cost per pass, thank you. It's concise, it's very good data.
Yeah. Thank you. We might need a Sam class for not smart people. They help us interpret it all, but we appreciate you getting deep into it. It helps. So thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Rider comments.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Monica Carter, and I'm the Safety and Service Compliance Manager, which basically means I manage the call center for the fixed route side, and I also give support to our safety initiatives and trainings and so forth. So I'm going to be reporting on the rider comments, the complaints for the month of September. The complaints report can be found on page 49 of the board packet. Just a little background, the complaints come in through customer service, through call center, over the phone, or through the chat feature, through social media, as well as through our web customer service. And then you look at the chart, the blue band across the top of the chart, you can see that the complaints are classified in those areas, verified, non-verified, questionable, beyond GRTC control, under investigation. If you drop down to the bottom of that page, you'll see where those things are defined. In the left column, you'll note some of the categories that we capture, route operator, passenger, and so forth. Then, of course, we have the columns and columns and rows of the total. So that being said, for the month of September, we had a total of 145 complaints, most of which were non-verified complaints, which again doesn't mean that it didn't happen, it just couldn't be verified based on the information provided. And then when we go to page 50 of the packet, that captures the trends, which just a little background on that, we've been reporting that since June of this year. So that's why, we have very limited data there for now. And you will also note that there were some increases, just looking at those from month to month. We're looking at September, there were some increases in areas such as no-show, late schedule. And again, I think it was mentioned before, that's largely due to workforce challenges as well as E4s and things of that nature. And finally, at the bottom of that chart, on there on page 50, we note that we have commendations for the month of September. There were a total of 5 commendations. One was for customer service representatives, and the other 4 were for the interactions the customers had with the bus operators. And that concludes the report for the rider comments. If you have any questions for me.
I have a question, but it might go back to the last section. So the on time doesn't take into consideration that we don't show up at all, right? So
I believe that's correct, Mr. Chris.
So, but if we get ourselves to 80%, but we aren't at 80% because we have a no-show, then that's probably not good either. Should we add the no-show to the on time? Because I just think that we're missing part of the picture. If we think we're doing better than we are because we didn't show up.
We can bring that up separately.
Okay, thank you.
Commendation, what's the definition again?
So when, it could be a customer, just wanting to share feedback as far as good experience they've had. Again, with the customer service representative when they call the call center, or it could be interaction with the bus operator, giving good customer service, or something that a bus operator did up and beyond. So for example, maybe the operator noted that the customer was struggling trying to get to the bus stop. So they waited to give them time to get their stuff together, get on the bus instead of just pulling off. And so they'll call in or use the other means as mentioned to share that feedback and document that.
So do we do anything for positive commendations?
Absolutely. So that information is passed along to whatever department it's come to. So for example, customer service representative for myself, they do get acknowledgement from myself and from the director of risk management. And if it's given to transportation, Tim Barr and his team acknowledges the operator.
Okay.
I think they give them like a letter or just, yes, Tim is not yet, so a letter and just having that interaction with them, commending them for a job well done to kind of encourage that.
Right.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right,
Thank you.
last staff report, financial report.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm John Zinzarella, I'm the Chief Financial Administrative Officer. So in addition to finance, I have the pleasure of working with and managing the procurement and HR functions with Tanya Thompson, Director of Procurement, who we met earlier, and Angela Malloy, who's the Director of HR, who's diligently working back at HR to recruit people and do other HR issues. So on page 51 of your package, you will find the August 2022 financial report. I'm going to, in a high level, and I will field any questions if I'm too high level, but we're 2 months in, so this is the month of August. We're 2 months in August 31st. So on page 52, you will see that revenues are unfavorable to budget by 1.549 million on a budget of 11.798 million, and this is primarily in the federal fund, which is due to lower than budgeted operating expenditures. As you will see in the next section below it, operating expenditures are lower than budget by $1.33 million year to date on a budget of $10.7 million. As we have briefed in the, it's almost like a broken record in the months before, as you heard from Mr. Barn and so forth, staffing is lower than what the budgeted levels are. So a large contributing factor of this $1.33 million is related to labor. Labor is below budget by about $716,000, broken between primarily in operations, vehicle operations, and general administrative. Contributing also is the materials and services consumed is favorable about $264,000, which is at this moment here is the majority of it, about $170,000 in favorable fuels and lubricants, and that's more of a function of when we were putting this budget together to get it adopted in the May timeframe. There was kind of a wild card, energy prices were on the rise, so we were probably a little bit more conservative. My crystal ball was probably too conservative for that. So as well as we did have some diesel contracts that had buffered us to get in September, and we're taking advantage of other opportunities to help mitigate that. And the last portion of the favorable below budget operating expenses, purchase transportation, which is about $245,000 below budget. And that's strictly on demand, as you heard that we now have National Express, and they're coming up to speed. So as we will see that they go away in the future. So all in all, it's for year to date, for 2 months, there's a surplus of about $848,000. We did not do any PM or ADA flexing. We did not do any other. This is just straight operating contributions that have come in. So we haven't, in the budget, we had contemplated using PM flex and ADA flex, but we haven't done that because of the status of where we are on expenditures. The balance sheet and cash flow statement. So the balance sheet is on balance sheet is on page 70. So
So you'll see that the balance sheet is still a strong position, cash position, $7.2 million, a little bit down from year end. You know, some receivable balances up. This is a function through August that we still had grants receivable that had increased due to the bus purchases as well as outstanding quarterly invoices for operation contributions, which we, as you recall, at the last board meeting, we approved the grant contract for the city of Richmond, so that's making its way through the process. All in all, balance sheet strong, no surprises there. Page 71, the cash flow. At the end of August, the operating cash flow, which was contained in that $7 million number, is $3.4 million. It's on a little low and expected to be a low at the end of September, and this is more or less a function. You can see that we're anticipating in September we received some of the federal and state reimbursements for the bus purchases. In addition, in October, we're expecting to, in October, we received the quarterly infusion from CDK, and we're anticipating the quarterly contributions from the members. Last one I want to comment on, it's not in your package, the Gremlins kind of got this one, but I believe that that Janet handed it out. Okay, this with this report that is going around, this is the CDK special fund quarterly report, part of the MOA with CDK. On a quarterly basis, 45 days following the quarter, we have to report to CDK what has transpired during the quarter. So you have this in front of you. The top part is the receipts. We have combination about a little over $7.5 million in 15% distributions, and this was for the local months of April, May, and June. And then you see also there's interest income activity, and there's some obviously some unrealized gains and losses on the LGPM, which is our investments. Why there's some unrealized gains and losses. Of the unrealized gains, obviously, you know what those are. Unrealized losses for about the last quarter and probably going the last quarter. A real rare phenomenon. The yield curve has been inverted. When that happens, there's a correlation between equity returns and fixed asset returns, and obviously LGPM does contain stable investments, so it does have some munis and other fixed income products. So that's why there has been unrealized gain, unrealized loss in the last couple of months. And the uses primarily during the quarter, 16,421 was used for the preparation of the GRTC Regional Public Transportation Plan. That's the plan that Adrian's group works on and is approved by CDK. That gives us the authorization to spend the CDK funds, as well as there was about $50,000 in micro-mobility plan. And then you see that the draw during the quarter of $5.455 million was for funding the Q1 capital and operating expenses. All in all, the balance in the CDK fund is $28 million, and you kind of see below the green line what the various compositions of those funding are for. So pulling it out, we have $27.7 million, which is basically the money that we collected in advance for the balance of fiscal 23, as well as starting in 24 numbers. And as you can see, there's about $10 million was in our Wells Fargo bank account, and the balance was in LGIP. Obviously, October 1st, we pulled out another $5.5 million, and we're actually looking at with Wells Fargo about doing some fixed investments that are interest-based as opposed to bond-based to try to a little additional interest. This, as I said, this report will be filed with CDK prior to November 15th. And with that, I'll just field any questions at this moment.
All right, any questions? That's good, John. No questions. Thank you. All right. I think that's all the staff reports. Interim Chief Executive Officer's report is that. All right. I have two things before we conclude. First of all, personnel search. So we started personnel search officially last month, 2 months ago, maybe 2 months ago. We had our first meeting. K3, is that the name of the group? K2? KO2. is the search firm that is helping us. Christian Kent is the person that has been assigned to us. And so we met with Christian. Our search committee has met with him, I think, twice. He talked to some, well, a lot of our board members who were serving and some who are outgoing. We'll encourage him to talk to some of you who are new. But we're moving forward with the process. We started advertising last month. Joe, did he ever tell you how many applications we received?
Over 20.
So we received 20 or more applications. He did give us a list of, I think 5 or 6 people on yesterday, sent it in. So we're gonna have a search committee meeting on November the 2nd. Now, I think Ben was the Richmond rep.
Yes.
So we need somebody from the city of Richmond, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And you have, Councilwoman Robinson right now on your document.
Oh, on my document. Okay, Councilman. Yes, okay. I do have a document. So let me get this document out. Pass that around. So this goes into my second point. So we started Lincoln, and you guys, we're gonna blame Lincoln for well, we all talked about the idea of having committees. We the board was having like 3-4 hour meetings, and look at us, an hour and 15 minutes, 20 minutes. But we thought it was wise to have committee meetings so that we wouldn't have to have these super long draining board meetings. And so I just sent out a potential assignment structure that you don't need to commit to right now. But hopefully you can look at it and let us know whether or not this is something that you would be interested in serving in. The finance is monthly. I think everything else is ad hoc. So it'll be us calling, us calling the meetings when need be. Finance, the finance committee meets monthly though. And I know Jim, Dan, Lincoln were already on. So Mr. Anderson and Andreas, we are suggesting that you guys jump on as well. But you see here, operations, development, and then personnel is a temporary committee only until we find a chairperson. You see the committee structure on the subsequent pages, and let us know if this is something that you're interested in. Sooner than later for Ms. Robertson and Mr. Anderson and Mr. Addison. The finance committee meets usually when?
Second Wednesday, that's for whole.
All right, second Wednesdays, and what time?
12:30.
12:30, okay. Personnel committee next meeting is Monday, November the 7th, and that's at 2 o'clock. Monday, November the 7th at 2 o'clock here. All right. Personnel committee, we may get you, well, not may, we will get you that list of candidates prior to the meeting so that you can look over it and we can have a good conversation. We also have our HR roundtable supporting us on our side. So we have hired, and Christian Ken is working with us with the group. But we also have our HR directors, which from Chesterfield, Richmond, and Henrico, they also are helping us with the process. So I would assume that the next step is looking at this list, either interviewing the people that we have who have been recommended. We do want to look at the full list though, which we have not received yet. We want to see who all the candidates are. And then once we do the interviews, we'll see whether or not you guys want to be a part of it. those of you who are not on the personnel committee, I need you just trust us to be here and bring back recommendations, etc. All right, any questions about any of that? All right, well, again, looking forward to working with you. And meeting, oh, I'm sorry, no, meeting is not adjourned. We have some resolutions, and I'm gonna ask Ms. Adams to do that for me. Resolutions honoring, and I know Mr. Coles is here. No, Mr. Smith is not here, right? No, Mr. Armstrong, no, Mr. Campbell, but all of them, Mr. Coles and Mr. Campbell representing the city of Richmond, and Smith and Armstrong representing the counties of Chesterfield. Smith was over 30 years, or close to 30 years, and I think everybody else was, I think Gary was 2011, and Campbell was 2000. Yeah, and Mr. Coles, though his board service wasn't super long, he led this organization, so as the executive, so his service was important.
You just did it.
Oh, okay.
We need to make a motion to approve the, we need to make a motion to.
I think we do need to approve the resolution. Can you just go ahead and read Mr. Cole since he's here, and then we'll.
Yes. Resolution in appreciation for outstanding public service by Mr. Eldridge F. Coles. Resolution of gratitude to Eldridge F. Coles for services rendered as a board member of the Greater Richmond Transit Company. Whereas Eldridge F. Coles has served as a representative of Richmond, Virginia, on the board of Greater Richmond Transit Company since October 2016, providing reliable and safe mobility options to the region. Whereas Mr. Coles has served as board member, operator, director, and chief executive officer for the Greater Richmond Transit Company, exhibiting the leadership and historic rise of opportunity for the GRTC workforce. Whereas Mr. Coles oversaw the construction of our corporate headquarters located at 301 East Belt Boulevard in Richmond, Virginia, and inspired the further camaraderie between the operational and administrative GRTC workforce. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Greater Richmond Transit Company Board of Directors, do hereby take this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation for Mr. Coles' service to Greater Richmond Transit Company and his many contributions to the board. Be it further resolved that the chairman of the Greater Richmond Transit Company provide a copy of this resolution to Mr. Eldridge Coles and be it hereby adopted on October 25th, 2022. Tyrone Nelson, Chair, Cheryl Adams, Interim Chief Executive Officer.
Come on. Well, we all stand because we're going to adjourn once he finishes.
I certainly appreciate this. It's been a good run. It's been over 55 years almost of transit here. Starting off as a bus operator and was able to progress through the company, reach heights that I never thought that I would reach. But thanks to the staff, the operators, and all that, I did get there. You know, I always say that CEO really don't run the company. CEO gives the ideas, but it's the people behind the CEO that make it happen, you know. And GRTC have always been like a family place, atmosphere here. And, you know, I'm sure that will continue. I'd like to thank the board members that's not here now. They did a great job. And I sat over there this morning and listened to you guys talk about where GRTC is and where it needs to go. And I can leave here knowing that it's in damn good hands. And it came a long way from Davis Avenue to where it's at now. I'm sure from the things that I've heard and the people that's here sitting around this table now, that it will even go higher. You know, so thank you all for everything. I about to cry.
Yeah. Let's just on record, Chairman, if you don't mind, if you guys don't have a problem, we lumping all the resolutions together.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the resolutions for all four previous board meetings.
All right, second, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.